看掉吗？绑掉了啦。OK，
9.
Beh, avevo io mi metti no, perché dietro, stesso dietro. No, la Maria. Oh. Non è che Maria. Ah,我这个在这段时间，所以在。 saja memahami. Buat lalu hati aku tak bisa namun begini. Hati berkata, aku bisa diselas hati berkata, ini rasanya aku lihat taruh jumlahnya berapa. Jika cukup ku ingin geser saja. Bukan kataku, tapi besok apakah ada uang untuk makan? Aku tak ingin aku kelaparan.
Morning, Bu Yohanis.
Morning. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. We have Rizky for your moderator today.
Okay, all right. Hi, morning, Prof. Hanis.
Assalamualaikum, Bu Yan.
Waalaikumsalam. How's everyone?
Very good.
Pakai itu. Pakai punya.
Honorable the Head of Management Department, Dr. Atmi M.M. Honorable Professor Yohanis Abdul Aziz, PhD from University Putra, Malaysia. Honorable Lecturer in Faculty of Business and Economic Universitas 11 Maret, especially Management Department, and all of the participants joining on this meeting. Good morning, my prosperity and health be upon us all. Yes, first of all, let us thank to Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Because of His blessing, we are able to join here in guest lecture via Zoom meeting. And secondly, salawat and salam also deliver to our Prophet Muhammad SAW, who has guided us from the darkness and the brightness. And ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. I'm Rizkyanti. As you probably know, I'm here in my function as moderator in this session. Now I will read one by one the agenda today. That our first session is opening. The second one is introduction. The third is presentation by Prof. Yohanis Abdul Aziz. And the fourth is question and answer question. And for you participant, you can drop the question in chat box, either in Zoom or in YouTube channel that provided by us. And the fifth session is closing. Now, let's open our meeting by saying Bismillah together. Thank you. The theme for this session is tourism sustainability in post-pandemic. Currently, have joined with us Professor Yohanis Abdul Aziz, PhD from University Malaysia. Good morning, Prof. Good morning, Professor Yohanis. Could you hear my voice clearly, Prof?
Yes, now, but not a few minutes ago.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so am I supposed to start now? Not yet.
Introduce you first. Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Prof. Yohanis Abdul Aziz is a professor in business management who take a PhD in University of Nottingham, UK in services marketing.
Kenapa nggak ada suaranya ya?
She has published a lot of articles in Scopus Indexes Journal, and her research interests are tourism, hospitality, and marketing. Okay, let's run in the next agenda. Now, Prof. Yohanis will present her insight about our today's topic. To Prof. Yohanis, time is yours. You can share the screen. Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to everyone. First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude to Universitas 11 Maret, specifically Fakultas of Business and Economic, for the invitation for me to share my sharing session here. And also, I would like to extend my warm welcome to everyone in this session, or I dare not to call it webinar session, but it's more like a lecture sharing session. I'm given certain time to actually present whatever that I have had with me. But I'll try to keep it to the time so that we can follow the right agenda. Yeah. Okay. I think I need a boot Rizky to enable multiple participant slide sharing so that I can share my slide.
Okay.
Thank you.
I've enabled it.
Right. Okay, can you see the slide?
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right, great. Okay. Let me sort it out first. Okay, once again, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's already 10 o'clock in Malaysia and 9 o'clock in Indonesia, even though it is 9 o'clock, but you know, the time is more or less the same. Okay, I have some amendment made on the title of my sharing session today, which the effect of coronavirus on tourism sustainability post-pandemic. Okay, as mentioned by Bu Rizky just now, thank you Bu Rizky for the kind introduction. I'm Yohanis Abdulaziz. I'm the Professor of Tourism Marketing at School of Business Economics, University Putra Malaysia. And my area of research interest is very much into tourism marketing, specifically destination management, tourism experience. And at the same time, I'm also conducted quite a number of research in general services marketing. And also when it comes to the teaching and learning, I teach any subject related to hospitality and tourism, as well as business research method. That would be another area of specialization that I have. Okay, without further delay, let me bring to the what is sustainable tourism and why it is very important. Okay, I believe majority of the attendee or participant here today are quite familiar with the tourism. And for your information, sustainable tourism cannot be separated from tourism industry. And for your information, who doesn't like travel? Everyone loves travel, okay? Whether we travel for whichever motivation, people travel around the world in order to meet their travel purposes. Okay, so sustainable tourism is actually a way of traveling and exploring a destination while respecting its culture, environment, and the people. As we move along, you will see the importance of sustainable tourism to the culture, to the environment, as well as to the people. And according to UNWTO, you are looking at the need to meet the needs and wants of the tourist and host region, which is the destination, where at the same time protecting and enhancing opportunity for the futures. Now, so when we talk about traveling, you travel around the world with different attraction, different nature. For every destination, they have their own uniqueness. Yeah, and most of the people, they travel because they want not only to see the world, but they want to fulfill their motivation. As I mentioned earlier, you are looking at understanding the local people culture. You are looking at develop the social relationship with the local people. You are looking at different purpose. For example, ecotourism. When you look at the context of tourism, you're looking at ecotourism, medical tourism. So people travel, for example, our neighborhood country, Indonesia, most of them travel to Malaysia because of the medical tourism. And you look at shopping tourism and many others. So according to UNWTO, the famous United Nations World Tourism Organization, tourism sustainable development is tourism that takes full account of its current and future economic, social, and environmental impact, addressing the needs of visitors, the industry, and the environment, as well as the host community. So if you look at the whole sum of the definition of sustainable development, sustainable tourism development, you can develop your destination, but you have to take into account several components, which is you talk about three pillars of sustainable development: economic, social, and environmental. And when you look at these three dimensions, you have to measure what will be the impact of these three pillar of sustainable development to the destination. Okay. And at the same time, when you want to sell your tourism product, you have to meet the needs of the visitors. So whenever they travel, you can satisfy them, you can give memorable experience to them, and the industry can generate income out of the tourism, activities. And at the same time, we are still taking care of our environment, and it will benefit the host communities. So ideally, the term sustainable tourism development captures or embrace a holistic view of what tourism should be doing. Okay, right. But however, unfortunately, early this year, coronavirus hit the global tourism very, very hard. Or in another word, I will use this throughout my sharing session interchangeably, the term coronavirus. At first, we were introduced with the term coronavirus, then followed by COVID-19. After a while, they come up with the more scientific term, which is COVID-19. And this will be the immediate impact that we can see. I will provide more detailed information based on world level and the selected countries, for example, Malaysia, Indonesia, and some on Thailand and other countries, because we cannot be covering all. So we will be looking at the one that is close to us. So empty hotel, cancel flight, close tourist site, and cancel major event are among the immediate effect of the coronavirus. Okay, news around the world, million affected. And according to UNWTO, the coronavirus pandemic is the worst crisis that international tourism has faced since the record began in 1950. So it's really bad. And perhaps at that point of time, people already travel, but then when they travel, they don't actually travel far and away. They travel maybe to the neighborhood country. But nowadays, with the latest technology, with the availability of low-cost airline, it makes the travel possible. And globally, tourist arrival were down by 22% in the first 3 months of the year, collapsing by 57% in March as lockdown spread. So March, April, May is where the time almost all the worlds are locking down, that we don't allow people to travel, we close our border and things like that. And in May 2020, UNWTO estimate that international tourism could decline by up to 80% over 2019, which put at least 100 million jobs at risk. Later, I will show you the actual data that I gathered this morning from UNWTO. So these are actually the prediction that was published in May 2020. And according to Business Insider, the coronavirus is slamming the US travel industry, with experts predicting it will wipe more than 10 billion in spending from Chinese visitors alone. As we all know, China is one of the biggest tourism supply. China provide both to the world, to the tourism industry. They provide people who travel to our country, and we also travel to their country. So China is a big power in terms of tourism industry. Now, according to World Economic Forum, million of jobs could be lost. Okay, so I'll be sort of like providing more or less the same story related to the effect of coronavirus to suit the title of my lectures. And experts say that the crisis offers an opportunity to rebuild global tourism in a more sustainable way. So while World Economic Forum predicting a million of jobs could be lost, but at the same time there's a hope. Okay, so at the end of this sharing session, I will be sharing some of the input that can be done in order for the tourism industry to move forward. We are actually moving forward already with what you call it, planning and strategy on the way, especially for each country. And at UN WTO level, they also provide a lot of information that can be used as a guideline by most of the country around the world. And OECD similarly predicted a drop of 40 to 70% in international travel for its 36 member state this year. And IATA, okay, if you're familiar with IATA, the International Air Transport Association forecasts losses totaling US 84.3 billion for airline this year as a result of the global health crisis. So it's a huge money. It affects the industry. It also affects the people. Okay, the people not only directly related to tourism industry that depends so much on tourism industry, but also the people around. Because of this COVID-19, you are looking at the effect that it has on the business in general, not only tourism industry. Right. So this is latest information published by UNWTO World Tourism Barometer. Latest issue. I'm not sure, but these are quite latest issue number 4, July 2020 update. You can see the tourism slowly restarting after 98% drop in international arrival in May, because we all know that starting March, July, April, and March, April, May, June, and July, this is where the world are badly hit by coronavirus. And in fact, nowadays, we in Malaysia, we are on a movement control order, but not restricted. We are working from home. I think it's more or less the same with Indonesia counterpart. So we have not been to our office for the last nearly 2 weeks, and the it is extended until the 9th of November. 9th of November, which is 2 more weeks. We have to work from home in order to reduce the chain of COVID-19. So the international tourist arrival overnight visitors. Okay, overnight visitors mean they consider at least 24 hours travel, because those who commute, let's say for example from Singapore to Indonesia, Singapore to Malaysia, when they come to Malaysia in the morning, they leave in the evening going back to Singapore, that is not considered as tourists, that is considered as excursionists. So UNWTO update the data based on the international tourist arrival, where we saw a decrease of 56% in the first 5 months of 2020. So meaning that right from January until May. Okay, and at the same time, so let me go back to the previous slide. Okay, at the same time, I also visited UNWTO tourism dashboard. And these are the data that I gathered this morning. You can see the international tourist arrival are going down. Somewhere here, they are going down, especially March, they started to decline until May, and April and May, they started to go up again in June. But nowadays, we would imagine that the number of travel will drop again until we do not know when, because we can always predict. We can predict, and prediction is very important. But what is more important, the prediction is actually should go align with the number of COVID-19 around the world. Okay, YTD here refers to year to date. The percentage of change is actually minus 65%. So these are the figures for international tourist arrival for the world. Okay, for the world. For those who are doing research, please feel free to visit UNWTO dashboard as well as UNWTO website. They always update us with the latest information on the COVID-19. Okay, if you go deeper, okay, now I'm looking at specifically Asia and Pacific region in terms of tourism direct as share of GDP. Okay, as you can see here, I would like to focus on 3 countries here because these are the closest neighborhood country. Somehow or other, Singapore are not listed here. Thailand and Malaysia equally contributed 7% of the country's GDP. Okay, country's GDP, and Indonesia 4%. Okay, so this is significant tourism income generated by the GDP generated by tourism activity. Is we go a little bit further, as you can see here, is actually the international tourism as share of total tourism. Okay, international share of total tourism. You can see here Malaysia and Thailand are similar, both income contributed by international tourism as 36% and Indonesia 14%. Okay, can I stop for a while? Can I request Bu Rizky to remove me as an host because it is quite a little bit in interruption for me. Okay.
Yes, of
Good.
course.
Okay, thank you very much because I keep looking at those things and I cannot read my title. Thank you. All right. Now moving on. Okay, global news. So as based on the initial introduction, it can be seen that coronavirus or COVID-19 may hurt global tourism up till 2021 in order for us to stabilize. But of course, this is according to Bloomberg Global News. Different part of the world may report it differently, but at the end of the day, we know that a coronavirus will not go easily. We sort of like need to learn to live with it. Okay, for example, BBC World News reported that Bali is closed to foreign tourists until end of 2020. If I'm not mistaken, I've read somewhere that Bali is supposed to open up to their tourists, if I'm not mistaken, in either September or October like that. But because of the cases is increasing again, so they decided to close until end of 2020. Okay, that is actually in Bali. Right now, so even though some of the information has been provided earlier, what the coronavirus means for the world economy. Okay, so ideally throughout the world, it has been a devastating impact to the world tourism economy. For example, as you can see from the pictures, it incurs a lot of expenses in order to maintain the current, operation. For example, you need to sanitize the aircraft before they are flying, and the aircraft is actually flying not on full capacity. When I say full capacity here, I'm talking about the full capacity in terms of the income that can be generated. They are flying today, but if they are only allowed to sell, let's say 50 seats out of 100 because of the social distancing, meaning that the income that they are supposed to generate on that particular day is gone already. So you are looking at the service characteristic of the service industry in the context of perishability, where you will not be able to generate income for that day. You cannot maximize the income that you're supposed to be generating on that day. Now, why? Why is this affecting the world economy? Because you are looking at the fear of being infected from coronavirus, where they create the domino effect in the cancellation of holiday plan, exposing the tourism industry to a major slump. You know domino, right? When you play domino, when you push one of the domino, it will affect the rest of the dominoes. So in this context, the cancellation of holiday plan will automatically has direct relationship with the travel agency, hotel, airline, restaurant services, money exchange, and many others that is related to the tourism industry. Now, so in May 2020, World Economic Forum predicted that international tourism is set to plunge by 80% this year. Okay, that will be a general prediction in 2020. And as it is evidence, as I've showed based on the data from UNWTO earlier. You can see that 98% of the tourist arrival is dropped in May itself. Okay. Now, at the regional context, I like to share the information based on the Malaysian context, as I've shared the global scenario at the earlier. The Malaysian Hotel Association, or MA, says that Malaysia will lose at least 60% of its tourism business in 2020, and around 35% of hotels in Malaysia have closed temporarily. And this is data published in 2020. And in Thailand, tourism in Thailand fears of a decline of 6 million guests this year, 16% less than last year. As the data presented earlier, the income generated and the contribution of GDP to Malaysia and Thailand are equally quite similar. It is similar according to the percentage. So these two countries are depending so much on the tourism industry. And German National Tourism Board, some insight from the European country, only one insight. The GNTB expect the overnight stay from China to fall between 17 to 25%. As tourists in China, why is it important to highlight China once again? Because China make a significant contribution to the sales amounting to around 8 billion euro or $9 billion a year, and the losses are likely to have a severe impact on tourism industry in Germany too. So the effect is actually felt around the world. Now, let me bring some info from Indonesia. Perhaps all Indonesian here knows better than me, but to share with others as well. For your information, besides we have Indonesian participant, we also have Malaysian participant, as well as some of the PhD students from Iran, from Lebanon, from Thailand, and a few other countries. Okay. Thank you for coming and join us. Now, according to Tempo News, April 2020, 1,266 hotels closed, which it affect nearly 150,000 workers. Okay, so the effect can be varies. If I can elaborate a little bit, when you talk about will be expected to be impacted or affected, that could be in terms of loss of job. Maybe the employees will be asked to take unpaid leave holiday, or maybe they will be asked to work but at a reduced wage salary and extra hours, things like that. I have a little bit more detail later. And they update once again in May 2020, where the number of employees affected by COVID-19 is actually up to 70%, which is to me is a huge number, and it will affect the way in which the economy among these people, economy in terms of their well-being and quality of life. And Jakarta Post, the economists in Jakarta Post said that they predicted that tourism will take at least a year to recover from the COVID-19 outbreak. So this is just a prediction, but at the end of the day, we depend so much on the current scenario. That is why the new norm need to be taken care of by everyone in order to make sure that the world scenario can be reduced in a near time. Now, the impact of coronavirus, these are the list that I can actually share today. Again, in the context of Malaysia, average daily rate ADR of Malaysian hotel fell by 11.8%, and the revenue per available room RevPAR has dropped by 69.4% in March. So this ADR and RevPAR in the context of hotel industry will change from time to time, because normally in the hotel we monitor the occupancy rate on daily basis, weekly basis, and monthly basis. So from here, we can see and we can monitor the revenue per available room. As you can see here, it has been dropped. So meaning to say it will be less income to the hotel, and that will affect to the GDP generation of the country as well. Now, moving on, we have hotel in Malaysia that is being used as a quarantine center. To what do you call it, to make sure that after we come back from overseas, we are quarantined to ensure that the coronavirus will not be spread out of the compound. Okay. And AirAsia and AirAsia X have confirmed that they have retrenched 10%. This is quite recent, 9 of October 2020, retrenched 10% of its 24,000 staff. So this is a really very bad news to the airline industry. And most of the airline have stopped all flight operation and have asked staff to take unpaid leave, as I mentioned earlier. And they are expected to operate on a smaller scale. If you go around the world, if you get to see YouTube and so on, it is so sad when you see the airport that is empty. Like few days ago, we have got only 2 or 3 Malaysia airline hanging around and about to leave the airport, and the rest are resting. So the airline are resting because we are not allowed to travel. We are not allowed to leave because of the travel constraint and things like that. And not only this hotel airline, thousands of restaurants are also facing bankruptcy. Tour bus operator face pressure to repay loan from their creditors. Same goes to the, not to forget the cruise industry, because they use a lot of like big capital in order to operate the cruise industry now that they cannot travel. So this is also felt by most of the service provider, tourism service provider around the world. And in the context of economy, this is where we can see that around ASEAN economy, most of it are being being populated, or the tourism enterprise are mostly SMEs. And you can see the composition of the SME around ASEAN country. 89 to 99% of business population are SME. So that would depend from one country to another. For example, in Malaysia, I would say 98.5%, if I'm not mistaken. The latest figure are small, medium enterprise. And this SME provide 52 up till 97 of job employment. And they contributed to in between 30 to 53% GDP. So I have range here because that would depend from one country to another. Now, from the academic perspective, I have only one example here, the impact of COVID-19 on tourism industry in Malaysia, published in June 2020 by Fu et al. You can find this article in the Journal of Current Issues in Tourism. They actually explain the impact of COVID-19 or coronavirus based on 3 different perspectives. First, on the tourism industry in general. For example, in the context of Malaysia, it has exposed a major risk to visit Malaysia year, where campaign as 50% of Malaysia tourists originate from Singapore and China. Having said this, meaning Singapore, China, as well as Indonesia are our main international visitors. And due to the COVID-19, the effect is cancellation of many tours, which already led to the large drop of number of tourists in Malaysia. And impact on airline, as you can see specifically, the 3 major airline, namely AirAsia, Malindo Air, and Malaysia Airline, have initiated salary cut range from 10 to 100% and unpaid leave depending on the salary range and position. Okay, and again, this may lead to the high risk of bankruptcy. So if you read the newspaper, online newspaper, you get to see how this industry are hoping that the government may help them in order to move forward. And recently, Sabah, Sabah has agreed to assist AirAsia to sort of like finance AirAsia in order to move forward from now on. Yeah. Okay. And impact on hotel businesses. A total of 170,084 hotel room booking during the period of January until March had been cancelled, which caused a loss of revenue amounting 68,000 plus. The loss was directly attributable to the outbreak COVID-19. All right, meaning that the COVID-19 story has not only attracted attention around the world, but it also attracted attention among the academician. Now, moving on, let's look at the recovery scenario. Okay, recovery scenario. Because even though COVID-19 are still very much around us, but then in order to keep the business moving, in order to keep the industry moving, we need to plan for the scenario. If you learn services marketing, for example, if there's a service failure, if there's something wrong with the one particular services provided to the customers, you need to recover the service. In this context, it's nobody's failure. It's natural. It's natural. It's a world pandemic, which it is not by anyone's mistake, but it happened throughout the world. However, the recovery scenario need to be planned accordingly in order to make sure that we can keep going, because we need to travel. Everyone need to travel. Okay. Now, according to World Economic Forum, WEC, this is what they expected in the context of tourism demand, and the what do you call it, if you like to call it timeline, the timeline when the whole industry will recover. Okay, so this World Economic Forum is predicting, if I'm not mistaken, this is based on the survey conducted on throughout the world. So May, June pass, you can see domestic travel increase. June, international travelers increase, but domestic travel increase higher. And you can see between July and September, there's a huge leap in terms of the domestic travel. As you can see, it increased by 45%. And this is especially evident in Malaysian context. Once the lockdown has been lifted, people start to travel domestically. And you get to see, for example, in Malaysia, that Langkawi Island fully occupied, the hotel are fully occupied with the domestic travelers. And you can also see the increase, which is quite significant, I have to say, among the international travelers. But when comes October and until now, it decreased slowly. Even though international travel are increasing, however, it depends on the region. For example, the travel restriction has been eased among the European country, but not in the ASEAN country. Okay, for example, we still have travel restriction between Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia, and few other countries. And we are hoping that by 2021, the number of international travel will increase. And we do not know yet when will be the what do you call it, the specific time that the travel restriction will be eased, and things like that. It will be entirely depending on the current scenario of COVID-19. And like yes, some example, for example, yesterday Malaysia has been surprised with the highest number of cases ever. Yesterday, 1,000 plus, where majority of them are coming from Sabah because of the you know, of the close, it happened in the cell where people cannot go anywhere. It's a confined place. That's why the number is actually contributed significantly to the total cases of Malaysian COVID-19. Now, Indonesia has done very well in terms of the recovery scenario. For example, according to Indonesia Travel October 2020, Indonesia will reopen public places and facilities to enter transition period of a large scale social restriction. Okay, large scale social restriction. If you visit a wonderful Indonesia website, they provide the guidelines for travel, information. Same goes to Tourism Malaysia. They provide the guideline for travel around the world, and I believe the rest of the country, their own travel organization are doing the same wherever you go. And not only that, the travel agency, the established travel agency, they started to upload the information about new normal, what to do when you travel and things like that. Okay. So ideally, we have to live with it until COVID-19 go away, how to travel in a new normal. So among the recovery initiative is actually a revenue diversification. I will share again later towards the end of the lectures. For example, the AirAsia Group is expanding its digital profile by launching a super app. Um, to be honest with you, super app has been launched like quite some time, but with the COVID-19, they are actually enhancing the capability of super app, where it provide wide range of services from travel and lifestyle to logistic. And according to Jakarta Post, September 2020, the airline rebranded digital venture dubbed AirAsia Digital, meaning that they don't want to be known only AirAsia flying people from one destination to another, but they have actually diversified their business into three main business line: a venture builder, online education provider, Redbit Academy, through Redbit Academy, as well as the data center. Okay, so these are recovery strategy that is adopted by a specific service provider. In this context, we have AirAsia as the example. Now, what traveling could be like after COVID-19? Not only after COVID-19, during and after COVID-19, because we are not sure, they might be here at any time, not until vaccine is actually available. Okay, where are we heading? Tourism after the coronavirus crisis. Now, according to the Jakarta Post again travel guide, these are the 5 tourism trend to expect after COVID-19. Okay, tighter protocol, hygiene. You have to take care of yourself. You have to wear the mask, face mask. You need to have a sanitizer with you. You always need to wash your hand from time to time. You have to practice social distancing, even though people are wearing masks, but you need to distance at least 1 meter. More than that is even better. You can see from the picture that there's not so much of social distancing. So you have to take care of yourself. Don't expect others to do it. Touchless tourism, you are looking at a health passport. You are looking at next, I will share with you that Indonesia will be introducing the online visa. Okay, and you should expect to travel to a closer destination in order to reduce the risk, in order to reduce the time of travel in the aircraft, and domestic tourism as well as staycation. Okay, so these are 5 tourism trend to expect as proposed by Jakarta Post. And if you read any other website and as well as a website which is managed by the country level or provider level, you can find like hundreds of what do you call it, guideline for travel. Yeah. Okay. For Malaysian strategy, for Malaysia, the strategy for tourism recovery is actually as mentioned by our Minister Tourism and Culture, Datuk Nancy. We come up with a transformation agenda. Okay, a government incentive, which I will share with you in a minute, and outlook for trade and business event in order to promote Malaysia further. Because our this year 2020 tourism visit Malaysia campaign has not been able to be materialized due to COVID-19. So the transformation agenda, which include promoting domestic tourism, will be um, will be what do you call it, popularized. We will actually place more emphasis in promoting domestic tourism among the local people. Okay, right. So this is published recently in the New Straits Times in September 2020. Now, let's move on to the sort of like second half of the lectures, which is sustainable tourism. So Corona pandemic, what it means for the Sustainable Tourism Committee. So as I shared earlier, sustainable tourism means you have to take care of the host, you have to take care of the visitors, you have to make sure that everyone benefit from the tourism. Okay, everyone, the host community, the destination, the people who visited, and the world in general. Okay, because we want to make sure that the places that we visit today will still be there in its original form for our children, for our grandchildren, and for future generation. That is why taking care of the sustainable making sure that the tourism is sustainable is very important, and that's everyone's job in the tourism industry. Now, I like to look at the element of sustainability from three perspectives, and this has been established in many journal articles that economic, social, and environment are the three pillar or three component of sustainability. Meaning to say, if you want to say that one particular destination are sustainable, you have to make sure that the three element is taken care of. You cannot be looking at one element or one component only, but you have to look at all the three component: economic, social, and environment. Now, with the current scenario of COVID-19, economic and social are not good. They have given a negative impact based on COVID-19. Okay, economic, as we all evidenced earlier, that I've shared with you, the income generated from the tourism industry is not good. The GDP is reduced, number of international international movement, the international movement and international arrival are not good, meaning that if the tourists are not coming to our country, less income will be generated, no money exchange, no shopping, no staying at the hotel, no visit to the restaurant. So this will not be good to the economy. And one key element that need to be highlighted here is loss of job. Okay, loss of employment. When there is no employment, meaning people do not generate income, meaning no tax will be paid to the government, and a lot of things that is happening in the context of economic. Social. When you talk about social, there's a lot of impact happening around the world due to the there's a lot of impact on the social activities. For example, there is no interaction between the host and the visitors due to the loss of job. The quality of life will not be good. People need to look for another source of income. People started to sell by the roadside because they are not employed. And that's where you get to see a lot of online businesses in order to in order to generate income. For example, recently, we have heard a lot of the pilot, they are not flying. There's one case that I can highlight here. There's one pilot, a Malaysia airline pilot, since March until to date, he flew only 3 times. So now he's selling nasi dagang, one of the popular, what do you call it, rice in Terengganu, one state in Peninsular Malaysia. So he's selling nasi dagang in order to make for living. Okay, and that is only one example to show how bad it is impact the what do you call it, the component of social income, low quality of life, and many others. However, in this situation, environment is good. Okay, As you can see, if you sit in different group of WhatsApp, in different group of Facebook, and if you read, if you go into a specific website, the environment is going back to its normal for some places because no tourists visited that place. The seaside is clean. The water is blue. The trees started to grow again. All the national park are growing. No visitors visit them, so they are actually back to its normal. So the environment is taken care of. You are looking at no pollution. You are looking at no noise. You are looking at fresh water and things like that, right? So that is actually the main element of the sustainability. So all these need to be taken care of if you want to claim that one particular destination are sustainable. Now, UNWTO has provided a global guideline to restart the tourism. Okay, you can see the word restart the tourism. So they have provided 7 priorities for tourism recovery. You can visit their website in order to learn more. To provide liquidity and protect job, recover confidence through safety and security, public-private collaboration for an efficient reopening, open border with responsibility, harmonize and coordinate protocol and procedures, added value, job through new technology, and innovation and sustainability as a new normal. Right, so these are merely the guideline. It is up to individual country to adopt and to try to integrate this during their recovery plan when they want to start to offer tourism again. So it will not be like a normal practice that we have had before. So having said this, sustainability need to be taken into consideration when you want to start opening your border again. Okay, and they also provide a global guideline, 8 global guideline altogether: safe and seamless border management, air, sea, and ground travel, private sector, safe air travel, hospitality, tour operators and travel agency, meeting and event, attraction and thematic park, destination planning and management. Now, why are they listing all this? Because different service provider, they offer different activities and services. And different type of services requires a specific, what you call it, procedures, requires a specific requirement that they need to publish and inform everyone to make sure that we can sustain our tourism industry, and at the same time, because we do not know when COVID-19 will disappear from us. So you are still want to sell your tourism product and services. So this guideline need to be provided and made known to everyone. Now, so rethinking of sustainable tourism. Okay, first you need to reimagine and rethinking tourism. What kind of tourism that you want to offer to the world? Because different different destination offers different attraction and different benefit to the visitors or travelers. You have to rethinking to attain the SDG. We have 17 SDG altogether. When we talk about rethinking to attain the SDG, you are looking at the gender equality. You are looking at the opportunity for everyone to be employed. You are looking at the provision of quality education and how you can actually integrate, if not all SDG, but some SDG in the context of sustaining the tourism industry. And you have to reset the tourism agenda. How do you reset the tourism agenda? You will have to look at how the socialization of tourism takes place. Okay, the term socialization is also very important in order to be integrated in the plan of tourism. Okay, and then followed by developing sustainable tourism. How can we develop the sustainable tourism? Sorry about that. Let me switch it off first. Okay, how do we develop sustainable tourism? In order to develop sustainable tourism, we need to take into consideration all the 3 elements: economic, social, and environment. to ensure that whatever that you visited today will remain the same in many years to come. And finally, you have to avoid over-tourism. Okay, I will revisit again. Over-tourism, or in another word, mass tourism is the same thing, yeah? Now, these are the evidence that I can gather as an example on how mass tourism or over-tourism is destroying Bali and its culture. Okay, you can see this is on the left-hand side is actually, I cannot remember the place now. Oh my God, I cannot remember the name. But never mind, maybe someone can help me with the name. Tanah something, if I'm not mistaken. Tanah Lot, right? Yeah, this is, yeah. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, this is Tanah Lot. This is not that bad, but then during its peak period, you can see a lot of people visited Tanah Lot. And on the right hand side, according to the global, I cannot say global expat, a couple of years ago, this is what happened in Bali, Pantai Kuta. A lot of huge waste is actually occupy the beautiful Kuta beach. And then I've got another example in Maya Bay, PP Island. I'm trying to highlight this not because of these two destinations only, but we have got this scenario in almost every destination around the world. For example, in Malaysia, in one of the Perhentian Island, you can see dead coral because of the activity of a speedboat that take the tourists from the mainland to the Perhentian Island in Malaysia. And you can see the what do you call it, certain species of marine life are no longer available in Perhentian Island because of the over-tourism. And these are Maya Bay, PP Island in Thailand. According to Euronews and Bangkok Post, both published in 2018, at one point of time during this year, this year and this period, this Maya Bay is closed. Okay, is closed. 5,000 tourists tread this one only 125 meters long and 50 meters wide beach every year. So can you imagine how populated they are? Okay, more than 1.2 million visitors a year. It is a very nice and pretty island, but because of its beautiful, because of its charming, of its natural beauty, it has attracted people around the world. So this is what it means by over-tourism. Income generation to the country may be good, but you don't do justice to the environment. Yeah, you don't do justice to the environment. Okay, so now it's time to rejuvenate. That's why when you look at the environment, it's time to rejuvenate. Everything is at ease. Everything is so peace. Okay, you don't see many travelers coming, and they can rejuvenate. They can take a break and refresh themselves again. So you are looking at the destination specifically, but the country in general. Okay, now how to resume tourism after the pandemic? How can we do it together sustainably? Okay. Example, in Malaysia, we provide a Malaysia Economic Stimulus Package as part of the incentive to the businesses to help out the service provider. For example, 15% discount on monthly electricity. I'm not going to read all. I'm going to highlight one or two or three or four. Double taxes deduction. Hotel will be exempted from paying the 6% service tax between March and August 2020. Rebate on rental for premise at the airport, and another form of financial relief that can one way or another help the industry to release their pressure due to the COVID-19. And then if you look at other countries, Hong Kong government, for example, recently announced that they intend to give all citizens 10,000 Hong Kong dollar as a gift. China, Singapore, and Thailand have each announced tax relief and financial aid, which is quite common. Tax relief and financial aid are quite common to be practiced. Vietnam and Australia also want to entice tourists from other region with visa concession and marketing campaign. And as I mentioned earlier, besides providing incentive, the government of Malaysia and Philippines have called on the people to travel within their own country if possible. So you are looking at promoting domestic travel. Okay, and Indonesia, new online Indonesia visa for travelers from travel corridor nation. This is reported by EU in 2020 recently. And Candi Borobudur. Okay, Candi Borobudur, very beautiful place. You need to visit this at least once in your lifetime. They opened a virtual tour in Japanese among the Japanese tourists, as reported by Tempo October 2020. So you can do virtual tour for now. When the travel is lifted, the Japanese or the other market segment can actually come and do the actual visit. Okay, who doesn't want to look at this stupa that we have here? It's very beautiful place, very ancient, and it need to be visited at least once in your lifetime. Okay, it is you cannot find this anywhere, but except in Yogyakarta. Okay, way forward. Okay, way forward. Of course, new norm and tourism players should live with the new reality. Okay, I have divided the what do you call it, strategy or way forward that needs to be done based on service provider and the DMO, Destination Management Organization, or the government. You need to reskilling and upskilling program for the affected employees. Okay, this is very important. Okay, so all this content in this slide is actually to sustain the tourism industry in general. It will be more on the role of service provider. Business diversification, as I've showed earlier, what is done by AirAsia. Now they are selling their food that they sell online through their restaurant. They call it Santan Restaurant. At the moment, AirAsia has 15 restaurants, and they are aiming to add more restaurants around the world. They operate on the basis of franchise. E-retail store for the Malaysia Airline, they are selling the aircraft product through their e-retail store. And the service provider, be it a tour and travel operator, boat operator, restaurant operator, or whatever, or even the theme park operator, they need to think of how to redesign and create new tourism experience rather than offering the same one. And the option of merger and partnership. Okay, for example, at one point of time, a couple of months ago, Malaysia Airline and AirAsia as well as Malindo Air are proposed by a certain body to merge in order to operate as one airline to save all the three airlines. And then a tourism recovery task force. Why do I highlight in blue? Because it is also applicable to the government. And you need to enhance the tourism campaign. For example, what government of Malaysia are doing now, Clean and Safe campaign Malaysia, a Jom Nginap campaign. You can visit the Tourism Malaysia website in order to look at different campaign further. I didn't actually manage to find time to include the Indonesia and Thailand, but as you visited both website, you get to see a lot of campaign, digital transformation, innovation, and joint promotion. For example, joint travel package, the Malaysian virtual experience, Buy Now, Travel Later campaign. For example, you sell the ticket now, but you can travel in the next 3 months or 6 months or so. Firefly, a passport. Airport staycation and charter flight. For example, AirAsia is planning to bring a medical tourists from a respective country to just come in one charter flight to come and get the medical treatment in Malaysia. So that will be another initiative done by the AirAsia. Tourism application, very important. Application to store the health data of tourists. So when you go around the world, you don't have, this is what we call a touchless travel. All the information is stored in your data application in your mobile phone. And AirAsia lifestyle travel platform, as I mentioned earlier. And also increase collaborative approach. For example, you cannot be doing the businesses on your own. Okay, you need to collaborate with other parties. For example, you are looking at inclusive tourism. Inclusive tourism where you need to consider the those who are with disability, with impairment to be part of the tourism industry, as well as you need to connect with the community. For example, a rural tourism, CBT, community-based tourism, is one alternative that can be introduced by the country in order to promote the tourism further. And this is where you can really integrate the notion of sustainable tourism by the inclusion of the community. Because why? When we mention community, community is actually part of the desired component that need to present when you talk about sustainable tourism. You need to benefit them. People visit their place, but you need to benefit them at the same time. So community-based tourism, for example, which is very much relevant in Thailand, a very good approach that can be promoted further also by other industries. I think Thailand has done a very good job in promoting their CBT. And in Malaysia we have homestay, but it needs some enforcement, because homestay in Malaysia are not purely homestay. Some of the provider, they claim that they are providing homestay, but then they don't provide any activities at all. They claim to be a homestay operator, but in the true meaning, in the context of MOTAC, or Ministry of Tourism and Culture Malaysia, when you want to be the homestay operator, normally you offer packages, you offer activity when they stay at your place, okay, which not all are actually following the actual homestay in Malaysia. Okay, now from the government perspective, you are looking at the government stimulus packages, financial relief, as I mentioned earlier. Okay, as I've showed in the previous two slides, rejuvenation of the destination. So this is time for the destination to rejuvenate. Revival of the tourism industry, more environmentally approach travel advice. The destination management organization as well as the government need to provide travel advice posted on their webpage from time to time. And I think this travel advice is also being adopted by the service provider around the world, because when you visit the established travel operators website, you get to see a lot of information on the tips, guideline and travel advice, not necessarily based on the government. So this can be shared by both. So things like special certificate, health and safety requirement need to be updated from time to time. And they need to publish the country latest travel industry news, for example, travel restriction, visa requirement, how fast they can apply for visa, because they need to plan to buy the ticket and things like that. So this is very important. Yeah. Okay. Promotion of inbound travel and focus on domestic travel, as I mentioned repeatedly since the last how many minutes or so. So the focus can be on high yield tourism. Okay, for example, when I say high yield tourism, when AirAsia plan to come up with a charter fly for medical tourism can be considered as high yield tourism, because when they come and get the services from the hospital, this is where some amount of money will be spent on the treatment costs. So this is where we are looking at high yield tourism, or you are looking at the tourists who come from a certain part of the world. Many years ago, for example, tourists who come from these 5 respective countries in Malaysia, they spend a lot when they come through shopping, and they actually extend their what do you call it, average stay or average night. Like normal tourists, we normally stay 2 to 3 nights, but then this Middle Eastern, let's say for example at one time from Iran, Kuwait, UAE, Saudi, and there's another country I cannot remember now, Saudi Arabia. They normally, when they come, they will stay normally 2 weeks. So when they stay longer, more income will be generated by the country, and as well as a diversification of tourism product. As I mentioned earlier, some promotion can be done based on what has not been heavily promoted before. For example, all the three countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand, we have beautiful places that can be promoted further as part of the tourism product that already exists, but then you need to do more promotion. For example, rural tourism. Yeah. Okay. In order to sort of like diversify away from the normal attractions such as Bali, Langkawi, and Phuket, so you can actually introduce new destination. Not really new destination. The destination is already there, but then more money need to be spent to promote this. What do you call? In a way, it's like a new destination, even though it's already existed. Okay, and tourism support from various bodies, Tourism Recovery Task Force, as highlighted in service provider, a new travel procedures, IATA, systematic COVID-19 testing, because IATA is an association that is relevant worldwide. And also, not only a service provider that needs to do tourism campaign, service provider need to do tourism campaign respectively to the product that they have. However, for the government, tourism campaign need to be done at country level. Yeah, okay. So the same thing, a Clean and Safe Malaysia, Jom Nginap campaign, and so on. And finally, travel bubble. Now, this might be a new term for some of us. A travel bubble is actually allowing some kind of agreement between the two countries to travel, where the the requirement to travel is. For example, you don't need to apply visa, or it will be, or automatic visa will be given to the respective country. For example, we have got a lot of agreement going on. Japanese with I cannot remember the country, but Australia and Philippines, they are coming up with the travel bubble, meaning that there must be the rules and regulation that has got to be agreed upon the two countries in order to allow them to travel with, not to say no restriction at all, but with less restriction. The reason why travel bubble is introduced in order to at the end of the day to generate income for both countries. Yeah. Okay, you can read more on what is travel bubble all about. Okay, now we are heading towards the end. So what is our hope? Okay, what is our hope? What does the future hold? A much stronger focus on sustainability need to be done. So what we need to do is to understand what it means. Meaning, when you talk about sustainability, you need to cover all the three aspects. Learn how it's done, be prepared, and be resilient for when the next crisis will hit, so that we are always at the we are not always at the comfort zone, but when it come and hit us again, we know what to do. And the hope to generate income for the country still be there, but then taking into consideration that sustainability is even more important for the world. So this is why you need to draw a line to make sure that the development of tourism is taken care of while generating income and providing a job opportunity, as well as better quality of life to the people around us. At the same time, we still need to maintain the level of sustainability at our destination. We still need travel. What a shame if you don't go and visit places such as Bali, Borobudur, Langkawi in Malaysia, Phuket Island, Phi Island, as I've showed earlier. We wanted to go travel. We are human beings. Travel can serve us many purposes to release stress, to get to know other people, to see other places, to learn their cultures, a business trip, and many others. And for your information, we all know that tourism is one of the biggest employer in the world, and there are destinations there waiting for us to be visited worldwide. Reliant on travel and tourism for survival is very, very important for, I would say, almost everyone in this world. We need to travel. And according to Jakarta Post, April 2020, they claim that the tourism outlook this year will really depend on how this virus spread. Yes, very true. If the virus subside in the third and fourth quarter this year, which is now, we are already in the fourth quarter 2020, we predict that the tourism sector will recover in 2021, but it will not be fully recovered yet, depending on how people behave, as well as depending on the number of COVID itself. And tourism sector in Malaysia, on the other hand, is expected to slowly recover at the end of the year, which is the end of this year. Looking at the current scenario, it is going to be November, but then Mr. COVID are still very much around us, so we might need to delay a little bit. Instead of stabilizing in June, we might need to extend the time, the month of or the duration for the industry to stabilize, but it will come one day, inshallah. And for your information, China will remain as a motto for tourism. Almost every country in this world depend on the tourists or visitors from China, because they are a huge population, so they travel around the world. And what is more important is to avoid over tourism or mass tourism. How can we do this? We have to think together in what way we can avoid over tourism in order to take care of our world, our environment. Okay, with that, I have to end my session. I think I have taken extra time, slightly extra 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so. Thank you very much. You can contact me via email at yohanis@upm.edu.my. And Tourism Malaysia, I'm not sure about the other part of the world, has introduced #TravelLater. So travel to help the country recover. Okay, so in another word, we can travel, but we have to move towards the notion of we have to be a responsible travelers. Okay, another word that you can use for sustainable tourism or responsible tourism. Okay, with that, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the awesome presentation, Prof. Yohanis. And well, ladies and gentlemen, now we are come to the question and answer session. There will be 2 sessions, and each session is for 3 questions. And I will choose 3 questions for the first session. Several questions in chat box, and the first question is from Mr. Ivan. He is a lecturer in FEBUNS. How about development of local tourism in many Asian countries? How tips or strategies to improve them?
Sir, Bu Rizky, thank you for the question. Can you repeat the question again? Because I was scrolling down the chat room.
Okay. How about development of local tourism in many Asian countries? How tips or strategies to improve them?
Okay. The question is about a general tourism in
Yes.
Asian country, right? Okay. Now, I think in my towards the end slides, I have actually shared the strategy to recover. But in order to deliberate this further, it is very important for us to understand the context of tourism in our destination. For example, in Malaysia, we have several tourism products that we can actually promote further, such as we are good at medical tourism. We have natural resources, which is also ecotourism, even though in the context of marketing, the positioning of one particular destination will have to be related to what destination that we want to promote. But then if you look at Malaysia Truly Asia, our tagline is actually Malaysia Truly Asia, but we have a lot of things that we can offer. So going back to the strategy and tips to promote the destination further, we need to look at our strength. We need to look at our natural resources, in what way we can actually maximize our potential in order to move forward. Okay, you might need to start small by promoting one particular product instead of looking at overall perspective, because Sustainable tourism requires an integrated approach that need to combine all the three elements, which is economic, social, and environment. Okay, I hope I answer the question.
Okay, thank you. And the second one from Imtiaz Hussain from SBE UUPM. What's your suggestion for building resilience of tourism companies, especially SME, in this scenario? How can they adapt? Thanks.
Okay, now SME, as I mentioned, are the most affected company. In order for them to adopt very quickly, they need to grab the opportunity provided by the government, especially in terms of financial incentive. And it is very important for them to collaborate with other company, because most of the SME, they are always in the situation where they have less capital. So by collaborating with other company within a similar practice or within a similar scenario, they can collaborate and conglomerate among them in order to reach out to a bigger segment. Because in this situation, if you go solo, it will be very hard for you to stay, to survive in this context. But if you go as a conglomerate, at least you can actually benefit a certain segment and capture certain market that is not possible if you do it alone. All right.
Okay. How a strategy for SME to collaborate to corporates in order
Okay.
to
Now strategy
that side.
to collaborate, right?
Yes.
When you talk about the strategy to collaborate, you need to know your partner well. Okay, even in the management classes, we teach students to understand our partner, because even though in general, the word collaboration is not easy to do, but you need to know the partner well. You need to have sort of like common objective in order to make sure that all partners are able to work together. And even though the business objective might be different, but some of the objective can be combined together in order to reach out to the bigger segment. Because at the end of the day, when you talk about SME providing services to the tourists, you need to have a strong platform, especially if you want to go global. Okay, so the partner strategy, you must understand the needs of your company first, and as well as in what way the partner can offer benefit to your company. Not all company can be a good partner, because they may have different objective. They may have a different vision and mission for their company. Okay.
Okay. There is question from Rizkia Indri. He is a student from FEB Management UNS, and in our region, there was one big hotel that completely closed its operation for several weeks. Then the hotel started to open again. How can a hotel return to managing its management when a lost income caused the operation delay occurs? So how they can get their income again from the tourism?
Okay, thank you, Rizkia Indri, for your question. It's quite a long question, but it's a good question. It's quite difficult and challenging for me to answer. Now, you can see around the world that some of the hotel closed down. For example, it goes the same to Kuala Lumpur. They are closed down because their incapability to attract the customers to stay, where at the same time, even though, let's say for example, they ask their employees to take unpaid leave, but at the same time, some of the costs they still need to incur, especially they need to pay the bill, they need to pay the creditors for the loan and many others. But on the other hand, some of the hotels started to open again. Now, I would say that the hotel started to open again, especially if you are looking at the chain hotel. For example, even before COVID-19, some of the big hotel, group hotels, such as perhaps if I can name a few, Holiday Inn, Holiday Inn, some of the Sheraton Group, Hotel Group, HGD Group, they are opening the hotel around the world because that is part of their strategic planning. Okay, and the plan has been done like many years ago with the hope that the COVID-19 will go away, because to close down the operation immediately will not be possible. So if I'm not mistaken, from my opinion, for the big hotel, they will be affected, but at least they will be supported by their hotel counterpart around the world as compared to individual hotel. Individual hotel, if they are badly affected, this is where they are not, they cannot depend on their other counterpart to what do you call it, to help them financially. So this is where you get to see some hotel are closed, some hotel are still operating, and new hotel come up. But to say in the current scenario, the hotel that newly established will be mostly related to the chain hotel, where they already supported with their headquarters. They are financially strong already. I hope I addressed the question correctly.
Okay, before we move to the second session, maybe is there any comment or opinion from the participants?
Yeah, besides the chat room, you can ask me direct question.
Yes, maybe you wanna ask directly with Prof. Yohanis.
Yeah, I would love to hear from anyone. It's only me and Bu Rizky here communicating, as if we both are talking to each other.
Yes.
You have done a good job, Bu Rizky. Keeping me company.
Yes. Is there any comment?
I think while waiting for the question from the participant, I would like
Yes.
to address the question from Paramita.
Yes.
Okay, she is asking about whether I can share my opinion on how the opportunity for tourism scholar to publish their article during the pandemic due to the downfall of tourism industry. Now, nowadays with the current new norm, we can do a lot of things around the world. For example, without having to go to Solo, I get to see each other's today, and we are delivering our lectures around the world. Some of our students are located in China, so the process of reaching out is possible. Yeah. So same goes to the conducting research. Okay, first let's talk about conducting research. When you want to conduct research, you can actually use a new, not really new, you can use online to conduct research if you want to collect primary data. But at the same time, I can see a lot of article that is not empirical article, but it is actually written by many people around the world, whether they are on the general tourism webpage, or whether they are published based on their blog, or maybe Facebook, their social media, and whether they are representing the consultation firm. You get to see a lot of article that is written. So when you talk about publishing an article, what you can do, you can actually read and you can compile the information, then you can actually divide them according to the theme. So this is more on doing content analysis. You can gather all the information, doing content analysis, you can group them. If you have a software NVivo or Atlas TI, you can run your data through there. Then you can see how the information that is published, this is what we call secondary data, can be published in the journal article. But to secure top ranking journal may be quite hard unless you can follow the what do you call it, the format of which I've often share with my PhD student, the meta-analysis paper. Okay, meta-analysis paper is heavily cited. Okay, when you do meta-analysis paper, you cannot only review 50 or 100 articles. It has got to be more than that, even though you can see 100 articles can be published. But in order to get more content, in order to get more sound decision, you need to read more articles in order to see what are the trend, what are the theme that has been written by the writers around the world. Where, as I mentioned earlier, these information are not empirically tested, but this is based on their opinion. For example, if you talk about tips or travel tips during COVID-19, this is where you get to see some similarities, some differences, and who have actually written them. So long as you come up with a very strong research objective, inshallah, I believe your article will be published, because now people are looking at immediate publication when it comes to COVID-19. Okay, you get to see a very sometimes you have to go to the special conference where they promise to publish in a short period of time because of the COVID-19 issues. And not only that, when I mention that in general, you can also focus on specific what do you call it, maybe marketing strategy after COVID-19. That can be an article by itself. Yeah, I hope I answer your question, Mita.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Prof.
You're welcome.
Mr. Dr. Dedeji, yes, please.
Hello,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Dr. Adedeji is my name, from Nigeria.
Okay.
I finished from UPM.
Hi, UPM.
Yeah, fine, thank you. My question has to do with how tourism activities can be used to enhance the increase in the number of student intakes, especially international students from other continents, apart from the Asian continent.
Okay, so you are asking the relationship of the tourism graduate with the tourism activity in other country? Is that your question? Can you say it again? So I get
my question has to do with how can tourism activities in Malaysia enhance the increase in the number of students intake, especially international students from other continents of the world. Because now the effect of coronavirus has reduced, if not wiped out, the ability of most universities in the Asian continent to be able to have the large number that they used to experience before now.
Okay. All right. I'll try to address your question. A very good question. So you are asking how tourism activity in Malaysia has an influence of the student intake from other countries to come and study tourism and hospitality, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Now, I believe the tourism activity are not the scenario are not only faced in Malaysia, but also by other country. Okay, for your information, as I'm taking charge of the postgraduate studies at SPE UPM, I can see there are still some application coming around the world to come and study in UPM, even though the number is decreasing, but it is not significant. To answer your question directly will be quite challenges in the sense that the tourism activity, as I mentioned in my lectures earlier, we are facing difficulty to attract the tourists to come around the world. But the industry will recover. We do not know when, but we are hoping that at least second half of next year or towards the end of 2021 will be a good year for all of us in the context of tourism industry. If you look from the other perspective, tourism activity in Malaysia may not be directly related to the number of the application to do to come and study in Malaysia. Let's say, for example, in the context of a School of Business and Economics, when they come and study hospitality or tourism, you know the duration to do a PhD will take you at least 3 to 4 years, okay? And we are hoping that the industry will recover by next year. So there must be other strategy that you can use, for example, to study tourism. For example, nowadays you can see a lot of gap if you want to bring from the research method perspective, there's a lot of gap in tourism. The appearance of COVID-19 has actually, as you said, wiped out the almost tourism activity, but we are coming up very soon. So one of the strategy for the university is actually to attract more students to come and study, maybe in the context of sustainable tourism. Okay, that will be another avenue for you to do PhD, because hopefully the COVID-19 will not be here for many years, even though we are hoping for it to recover at the end of 2021. But we are hoping that by 2022 things will go back to normal again, but it will be new normal, and we are hoping that the tourism industry will be maintained and will be sustained in order to meet the needs and wants of everyone. I see the relevancy of tourism activity in Malaysia, but it is not only applicable in Malaysia, but I would say to the rest of the world. Yeah? Do I answer your question?
You have done very well. Very well. I'm happy.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's turn to the second session of question answer. There is a question from Richie Ilham Saryono from FEBUNS. How we can increase the global tourism with reduced risk of spreading corona, and what the strategies of tourism business like souvenir seller, hotel, so they can survive in this pandemic without the main income, especially for local resident who start business in tourism industry.
Okay. I think I can go back to my towards the end of the slide, where in the context of reducing the risk of spreading coronavirus, when we travel, we need to travel by following the SOP provided by each country. Yeah, that is why it is very important way forward for every organization, for every country to come up with SOP and travel procedures, so that when we travel from one country to another, we can follow that procedures. Okay. Not only that, when you talk about travel, you are entering one particular country where the airport will be the main gate. Okay, the airport will be the main gate. So clear instruction need to be provided for everyone so that they can follow through the SOP. And another thing, not only that, when you travel to one particular country, you will visit several places. So this is where the service provider need to come up with their own SOP or operating procedures in order to make sure that the risk can be reduced. Okay, example, one of the way of doing things, you need to limit the number of visitors at one time. You cannot allow too many visitors to enter your premise at one time. Okay, for example, now in Malaysia, we open up our restaurant even though MCO, but at one point of time, only two person are allowed to sit on one table. Okay, even though you come from the same family, you have to restrict that. So in a way, indirectly, you are telling you are not encouraged to leave your house if you are coming from a family of 4. Because if you go to restaurant, if the restaurant fully follow the SOP, even though you are coming from the same house, you are not allowed to sit on one table. Only 2 person per table. So in a way, you are already indirectly restricting people from leaving their house. Eating at home, calling food panda, or cook yourself is most admired. Okay, is most encouraged by everyone. And then I think in the context of strategy of tourism businesses like souvenir seller, a hotel, they can survive in this pandemic. This is where they need to diversify their business. Yeah. Like Air Asia, the example given, they has actually diversified into this Santan restaurant, where they will actually email you, because the minute you fly with them, they have your record. They will email you on the latest campaign on their Santan business. But then for the souvenir seller, If as long as you are allowed to leave your home, you can come up with a specific strategy or campaign, such as maybe buy one get the second product half price. You can provide voucher. You can come up with the what do you call it, promotion, and this is where the role of DMO is very important. In order to help the small medium enterprise, they can actually help them to promote, at least to promote their product on their website. Okay, because nowadays if you are not connecting yourself with the DMO at large, but for every province, every state, every what do you call it, district, we have not every district, every province, okay, in Malaysia, every state, we have a local tourism body which can actually help this small souvenir seller to promote their product on their website. And at the same time, as I mentioned in one of my slides, the Tourism Malaysia are also promoting a special event. We can actually organize online event, which is not, I think, not hard for the souvenir seller. If you have a retail shop, you can organize like online business, where you can actually place all the small seller to sell their souvenirs and product through online. Okay, and they will be responsible to post their souvenirs, especially to the local community, let's say for example around Indonesia and around Malaysia. Okay, I hope I answer your question well. You have to be creative, you have to be innovative, and you have to read out what is actually available around the world in order to get more information on this. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, there is question from Liu, UPM. Can you share your opinion on what is the future trends of travel, tourism, and hospitality industries and their related graduate occupations?
Okay, Liu. Thank you, Liu, for your question. Future trend of travel and tourism and hospitality industry. Okay, now in the context of future trend, I think as I mentioned earlier in the slide, future trend, there will be more domestic travel as compared to long haul travel. Even though long haul travel will happen in near time, but we would expect to have it slightly later as compared to domestic travel. Why domestic travel will become a priority for almost every country, because the management of domestic travel will be much easier. And when you travel domestically, that there will be a lot of what do you call it, information about the travel restriction will be reduced as compared to the overseas restriction. At least when you travel domestically, you don't have to apply for visa. You know what is actually happening around you. And okay, the trend for travel, if you talk about international travel, it may take longer time for you to travel because the planning. You can plan early, but then due to the COVID-19, you might need to expect to cancel your travel last minute. Okay, so when you talk about canceling the travel last minute, the service providers such as airline industry must come up with a package. Let's say, for example, if you postpone or if you cancel, how many percent can be refunded to the customers? Whether they can keep their travel for later. So these are the kind of initiatives that need to be developed by the airline industry. And then for the hotel industry, maybe this is where we talk about touchless travel, that you don't need to go to the perhaps the registration desk in order to register. You can register yourself online. Again, everything need to be done via app, and so that you can reduce the encounters with the service provider. You can just go check into your room right away. You can just scan the room using QR code. So perhaps there will be a lot of money that need to be invested on the technology. So technology will be very relevant and important. There's a lot of app that need to be developed in order to reduce the check-in time, reduce the encounter time. So that would be very much into the future trend of travel. And at the same time, we have to be very alert and update with the current information. The service provider need to update themselves from time to time, and the website will be one of the best mechanism in order to update, especially related to one particular country, because not all country has those app. Okay, it is expensive, and it requires a lot of money. That's why small medium enterprise, as asked by one of our colleagues just now, you need to collaborate so that perhaps the app can actually assist you to connect from one company to another, so that you can get latest information. Okay, graduate occupation. Well, this is quite hard for me to answer this, because nowadays even those who are already employed by the company are being laid off, being retrenched. So related to the tourism industry, perhaps the job opportunity might be quite limited. Okay. So even though it is quite limited, but you still need to try out, because some of the company, they are still looking for the graduate to work with them. Okay. And this is where you need to make sure that you need to be skillful, meaning that with your graduate degree, you cannot only depend on that. Grab an opportunity not to only work, but offer yourself to be a graduate intern. Okay, some of the company, they are not employing people at the moment, but they need people to run the company. Okay, maybe not all, but some of the company, they need an intern to actually work for them. So through graduate intern, even though, let's say for example, they pay you small money, but what is most important is the experience that you can put in your resume. You have to try out. Inshallah, the rezeki will be there. We do not know. Rezeki, normally, they don't have wrong address. Your rezeki will always come to you if you have one. But you have to keep looking and keep moving. You will get yourself employed. If, let's say, for example, you are not employed at the moment, you have to find way to generate income. For example, nowadays you start small with online businesses. Eventually, you can develop contact, and perhaps from your contact, you will be able to get a good job one day later. It will be recovering. The world will recovering with the right strategy. We just need to be patient. We just need to wait for a while. Whoever that is studying at the moment, you continue study, but at the same time, you need to enhance your skill. Nowadays, you have a lot of online training, online, certificate that is provided by the universities around the world. Grab this opportunity. For example, today, 11 Maret are doing really well by providing the e-certificate. This is just a normal lecture. Imagine if you can spend like 1 week or 2 weeks online, they can provide you certificate. Okay, they can provide you certificate, and this certificate can be used when you want to apply for a job later. A lot of free online classes that is available to teach you how to, let's say for example, come up with a simple computer programming. You just need to look around. The world is changing. We are living in a new norm, and that new norm, you have to grab this opportunity to attend all those online classes that is available, especially the free one. Like for example, in Malaysia, through HRDF, we provide an incentive to a certain number of graduate which is not employed. I'm sure those in Malaysia, you have heard about this. You just need to register with, if I'm not mistaken, HRDF. They allow you to register with a certain online classes, and you get free certificate. That will benefit you a lot. It shows to the employer that rather than not doing anything, you are doing something. You just need to sit in front of your PC, and that's it. You get your certificate. So commitment and motivation is very important, which you cannot get it from anywhere else except yourself. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I want to propose my question.
Can, no problem.
Okay, how the potential bad set of the new normal scenario given for local worker, the suggestion of the scenario reduce their job role for level worker, touchless and
For the
digitally.
lower level employees, are you talking about
Yes, yes.
Okay, right. Now, in the context of hospitality and tourism, or they normally use the term travel and tourism industry. Lower level employees are the one that form the biggest population of the workforce. Yeah, and normally they are school leavers. Okay, school leavers or those with a good qualification, but they are not able to get a job, so they work at the entry level. In the context of hotel industry, we normally call them associate level, right? So these are the most affected group at the moment. They are asked not to come to work. They don't get a payment, and if they stay in the hotel, they are asked to do multitasking. Yeah, so this will be very hard for everyone that is actually affected. Okay, it is very hard. I think the least that they can do, as I suggested earlier, they can learn online, because nowadays you don't need a laptop, a nice laptop to join online classes. Yeah, your smartphone. I would say almost everyone has smartphone. Maybe the percentage of those who do not have smartphone is very small. So you can learn through your smartphone, and at the same time, the concerted effort from the government is very important. That's why when it comes to this pandemic like this, the collaboration between the service provider, the DMO, as well as the government are very important. The government, sorry, at this point of time need to come up with a different recovery strategy, or as I mentioned earlier, the task force, in order to organize what you call it, training, organize event, in order to help those who are not employed. So the process of, remember my first point, the process of upskilling and reskilling the employees are very important. So if, let's say, for example, they are working in the restaurant department, now you can train them to do and make up the bed. So they have to work in the housekeeping department. Okay, if you want to go specific on the hotel, so those those in the housekeeping department, let's say for example the number of the booking room, the occupancy rate is very low, you can get them to work in the public area, depending on you're talking about if the hotel is still in operating, because you have got different department in the hotel. That will be at micro level. At macro level, as I mentioned earlier, the government can come up with some strategy to organize free classes, to provide training, online training, what do you call it, free incentive, that when they attend this for free, they can get certificate where they can use to apply another job. So use the current time, which is not fortunate for most of the people around the world, to upgrade yourself. Okay, and the process of upgrading now, I cannot say mostly free, but most of them are free. Look for the free one. Okay, look for the free one, not the paid one. Look for the free one so that you can upgrade yourself. At least through the e-certificate that you gather, you can actually apply another job later. You just need to bear with the time, because not much we can do at this point of time except for upgrading ourselves. And the assistance from the government is very important in order to organize it at a country level. Okay, so we have got two parts here, country level as well as the micro level, respectively, to individual organization. Okay, Bu Rizky, do I answer your question?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Due to time constraint, we have to end this session. Yeah, I hope we can continue our conversation in the next agenda. And for Prof. Yohanes, could you provide us your closing statement for this session?
Okay, closing statement. Okay. I think first and foremost, I need to say big thank you to 11 Maret for sharing this session. I really hope the content that I provide to everyone can benefit. Even though when you look at this kind of sharing session, a lot of information may be missed, and which I don't include all the information. Because the focus of today's sharing session are very much into the ASEAN country, even though I don't cover all, but this is what is actually happening around the world. Something that is not reported, even though it is reported, but the actual scenario are not fully reported as well. For example, yesterday yesterday I received a YouTube video, a very short one from London, showing a very quiet Oxford Street, one of the busiest shopping street in the world. You get to see people moving around, and during lunchtime, the restaurant is empty. So that would be from London, one of the most famous destination that almost everyone that is very famous, that we are looking forward to visit London from time to time. Yeah, so it is happening around the world. So I really hope the sharing session can provide us some insight into what is actually happening, and we don't just sit still and doing nothing. We have to improve ourselves, we can upgrade ourselves, and as I mentioned earlier, a lot of webinar, a lot of sharing session around the world are provided. It's free, and based on this webinar, more or less we can actually take some what do you call it, insight, especially for the student, way forward. What is it that you need to do? Let's say, for example, once you graduated from 11 Maret, or for PhD student, for example, what are the current gap that you can include in your PhD proposal and things like that. Because, for example, for Master Science and PhD, you need to update your current information, and you cannot get away from COVID-19, but then you just need to prepare, and let's hope that the vaccine can be found very fast, then we can start travel again, and we can be a responsible travelers. I think that's all, Bu Rizky, for the closing. Once again, thank you 11 Maret, and thank you everyone for your time. I enjoy my time with everyone. I hope that my sharing session will be beneficial, if not all, maybe for some of you. Okay, I'm sorry for any mistake that I have done. And once again, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. You can have a nice lunch now. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Yohanis. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, finally we are come to the last agenda. We would like to say thanks again to Prof. Yohanis Abdul Aziz for your presentation, and all of the audience for your active participation. Okay, hopefully our session will give benefit for us, and thank you for your attention, and see you later.
Bye everyone.
Bye everyone.
Assalamualaikum, Bu Yanis. I'm Wisnu, Bu.
Salam, Prof. How are you, Prof? Sehat?
Fine. I hope you are fine.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, yeah. How about your husband?
He's good. He say hi to you, because I told him that I'm having a session with you today, and he says hi to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Bu. Yeah. Please send my kind regard to him.
Inshallah, I will do.
Yeah. I hope he can will come again to Borobudur or other place.
And we are looking forward for you guys to come back to KL one day.
Okay. Yeah.
To see our twin tower.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Bu.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we are waiting for the rest to leave the session so that we can have our discussion
Yes.
on the articles publication, right?
Yes.
Okay.
In other links.
Bu,
Because
Oh,
other link.
Yes.
Other link.
okay. Oh, in other link. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Let me check.
Okay.
Okay. Bu Sinto is still preparing the link for the discussion. Okay, let's wait for the other link.
Okay. I leave, Bu. Yeah, I leave. Yeah.
Yeah.
See you, Bu.
Okay, see you. So I think I can leave the session and
Yes.
I can join in the other session. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank
Thank you.
you,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.